Here's something nobody tells you about travel. Your brain physically changes shape when you step into a new place. Not metaphorically, not spiritually, literally. Within hours of arriving somewhere unfamiliar, your hippocampus, the seahorse-shaped region of your mind, of your brain, responsible for memory and navigation, it starts firing in patterns it's never used before. New neural pathways light up, and these dormant circuits, they wake up. But here's what's strange. Some people come back from a 2-week trip completely transformed, more creative, more confident, more alive, while others, they come back and they just slip right back into their old life like nothing happened. Same amount of time, same money spent, but completely different results. So what's the difference? But more importantly, what's actually happening inside your brain when you travel that has the power to change who you are? Let's start with the most immediate effect, and this is the novelty effect. When you're at home, your brain operates in autopilot about 95% of the time. You take the same route to work, you order the same coffee, you have the same conversations, and this is your default mode network. It's an energy-saving feature that helps your brain conserve resources by turning routine behaviors into unconscious habits. It's efficient, but it's also why weeks blur together and you can barely remember what you did last Tuesday. And now, when you land in a foreign city, suddenly everything requires conscious attention. What side of the sidewalk do people walk on? Or what side of the road do people drive on? How do you order food in this language that you don't speak? Is that the men's bathroom? Is that the women's bathroom? Your default mode network goes quiet, and your brain's attention systems, they light up like a Christmas tree. And this triggers a surge of dopamine. This is the neurotransmitter associated with motivation, reward, and learning. Not the hedonic pleasure kind of dopamine, but the anticipatory kind. The kind that makes you lean forward, pay attention, and encode memories deeply. Now, a 2014 study from the University College of London, it found that novelty doesn't just make experiences more memorable, it actually enhances your ability to learn unrelated information for hours afterwards. The novelty bleeds into everything. This is why you remember your first morning in Bangkok with absolute clarity, but not what you ate for breakfast 3 Tuesdays ago at home. Your brain is designed to pay attention to new information. It's a survival mechanism. And travel, it's novelty on steroids. Now, but novelty alone doesn't explain why some people come back transformed, while others don't. For that, we need to talk about what happens when your brain is forced to adapt. Pattern interruption. Here's where things get interesting. When you travel, especially to a place culturally different from home, you're forced to hold multiple worldviews at once. The right way to do things at home might be completely wrong here. Eye contact that's polite in New York might be aggressive in Kyoto. Time that's linear in Germany might be a bit more fluid in Morocco. This mental flexibility training, it's measurably changing your brain. Now, a 2018 study published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology found that people who live abroad scored significantly higher on creativity tests and problem-solving tasks than those who hadn't, even years later. The experience literally rewires how you think. But here's the crucial finding. It wasn't just about going somewhere new, it was about adapting to somewhere new. Tourists who stayed in resorts, they showed minimal cognitive changes. But people who fully immersed themselves, learned the language, navigated local systems, built relationships, now those people showed profound shifts. Your brain treats every cultural adaptation like a puzzle to solve, and every puzzle solved straightens your neural circuitry for dealing with ambiguity, uncertainty, and complexity. Researchers call this cognitive enrichment, but some people call it the opposite of autopilot. And this starts to explain the difference between transformative travel and forgettable travel. But there's another layer that makes certain experiences stick with you for decades: the memory paradox. Let's talk about why travel memories feel so vivid. Your brain encodes memories based on how much attention you're paying and how emotionally significant the moment feels. At home, when you're in routine mode, you're encoding maybe 1 or 2 memorable moments throughout the day. Now, while you're traveling, you might encode 10 moments before lunch. And Dr. Claudia Hammond, a time perception researcher, describes this as the holiday paradox. Travel days feel long when you're in them because you're encoding so much different information. But in retrospect, the trip feels like it flew by because it was dense with experience. And this is also why travel seems to slow down time, not in the moment necessarily, but in memory. So a 3-week trip might feel like a lifetime when you look back on it, while 3 weeks at home, it barely registers. It's not that time literally moved differently, it's that your brain recorded differently. But here's the kicker. These memories don't just sit there passively. They become part of your identity narrative. The stories you tell yourself, I'm the kind of person who, are built from memories. And the more vivid and emotionally rich these memories are, the more they shape who you think you are. Which brings us to the deepest change travel can create, and the answer to why some trips change you while others don't. Most of us walk around with a pretty fixed idea of who we are. I'm not a morning person, I'm bad at languages, I'm not adventurous. These aren't truths, they're stories that you've told yourself so many times that they feel like truths. But travel disrupts all these stories. When you're in a place where nobody knows you, where your usual social role doesn't exist, you get to try on different versions of yourself. You might discover you actually are a morning person. When the morning evolves watching the sunrise over Santorini, it turns out in fact you can learn languages when you're motivated by hunger and connection, or maybe you are adventurous when the environment actually invites it. Now, Dr. Adam Galinsky at Columbia Business School studies this phenomenon. His research shows that people who travel abroad return with more flexible self-concepts and are more willing to try new things in unrelated domains of their lives. He calls it the self-concept expansion. And you don't just learn about other cultures, you learn that you're more than you thought you were. And this is the answer to our opening question. Not all travel creates this effect equally. The research shows that passive tourism, the all-inclusive resort, the guided tour where every decision is made for you, produces minimal identity shifts because you're still in your comfort zone. You're just in better weather. Real change happens when you're challenged, when you have to adapt, when you have to learn. And this is the amplifier. So here's what we know. Novelty wakes your brain up. Cultural immersion builds cognitive flexibility. Challenge creates identity expansion. But the neuroscience reveals something even more powerful. Your brain forms the strongest, most lasting neural pathways when you're learning something meaningful in an emotionally rich context. This is why you remember how to ride a bike decades later, but forget the Spanish you crammed in for an exam. One was learned through embedded practice in the real world, while the other was learned in a sterile classroom. When you combine novelty with skill acquisition, when you immerse yourself in a culture while learning something that matters, when you're challenged to grow while building real connections, that's when transformation stops being accidental and starts being inevitable. And this is why we built Nomura the way that we did. We don't just drop you in a new place and say, have fun. We immerse you in a new skill. Salsa dancing, cooking, language, craft, and we do it alongside locals who live that culture daily. So you're not just a tourist watching, you're a temporary participant in a real community with a group of like-minded individuals. Now, the novelty effect, it's gonna be maximized here. The cognitive flexibility, maximized. The memory consolidation, maximized. The identity expansion, maximized. When you do things this way, it's not a vacation that you're taking. This is neural rewiring in the most beautiful setting possible. The choice. Your brain is plastic. The technical term, neuroplasticity, it means your brain never stops changing. It never stops learning. It never stops becoming. The question isn't whether your brain will change, it's how you're gonna shape it. You can let it stay stagnant in routine, or you can take it somewhere it's never been and show it what it's capable of. And if you're curious about upcoming immersive skill-based trips, the link is below. And if you want to keep exploring the science of transformation, make sure to subscribe. We're just getting started here. Your mind and the world is waiting.